Hi, everybody, and welcome in. I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Jen Huber, who is a shaman. And I've had several journeys with her. She is very powerful and someone who is really a very interesting guide. She has incorporated a lot of Native American traditions in her work. And every time I do a journey with her, I learn something new, not just about myself, but usually about what's going on in the bigger picture, the collective, which is kind of an amazing thing because I feel like when we do shamanic journeys, sometimes we do them just trying to solve a particular problem. But there may be a reason, and I feel like right now in Aquarius time, as I'm recording this, it might be good to tap into what's going on for the collective also, and have that journey be as powerful for the collective as it can be, as it will be for the individual. So if you want to jump on, I'm gonna put a link below. We are doing an Accelerate Your Ascension program that is a weekly program. Jen Huber is one of my guests. Today she is going to be doing a beautiful shamanic journey for us and taking us where we need to go for the answers we need to hear right now. All right. So here's Jen Huber, and there's a link below if you want to join us for the journey. So, hey, Jen Huber.
Hi.
Hey, Jen Huber. How are you doing? It's so good to see you.
I'm great. How many years did this take us?
I don't know, 5. I bow my head in shame.
Oh no, divine timing always, right?
So right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that I do have a little bit of a cough here. So I'm going to be muting myself if I start to have that happen, and we'll just keep going. Okay. So
Sounds great.
Anyway, so today I want to really talk about the spiritual path. Jen, I have known Jen for about 5 years, maybe a little bit longer. And she has a fascinating journey, and she and I have some intersecting experiences. So I'd love to talk about the spiritual awakening, actually going through it, like a real experience of it, which you have had and I have had, and then how you kind of allowed your gift to open up to you, or whatever that looked like for you. I really want to hear what you did, because
Okay.
I get questions all the time about people like, well, how do I know it's my spiritual gift? And what happens when it opens up? And what's all that look like?
Right.
So I do hate to say that everybody probably has an individual experience, but to me, it is important to hear about other people's experience, because you're right, it can be a little scary.
Right.
So talk to me about what happened with you. I'd really love to hear about that.
Well, when you look back on things, it gives you see the clues much clearer than when they're happening, right? So when I look back over my life, I can see where the nudges for the awakening were happening and where I was dismissing them. You get caught up in, your ego. You get caught up in the things you need to be accomplishing in life, where you should be, those kinds of things. And so it finally came to the point where things just started being kind of eliminated and breaking down to the point where I really had no choice but to wake up. Went through some relationships ending. I did a big move from Portland, Oregon to a small central Washington town. So that was a huge change. When I got there, I was moving there to, help take care of my grandmother. And 3 weeks after I got there, she died.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I don't think I even knew that part.
Yeah. And then it just snowballed. And basically what happened was when I moved there, I put all my things in storage. I moved into a really, really small house on 10 acres out in the country. I mean, we're drastically different now from downtown Portland, Oregon. And then winter came and it snowed a lot and it got cold. And every bit of what I can call now coping mechanisms, right, that we do to keep ourselves busy were taken away. And it was me, my dog, in this small space. And, you can only clean a small space so much.
I wish I had cleaning as a coping mechanism, but I don't. So Jen's cleaning within an inch of her life. And
Exactly.
what was the moment in time that you were just like, all right, uncle?
Yeah, it was actually just a touch before winter, where it was that point where for the first time in my life, I even questioned God. And like, if there's a God, how can there be a God when I feel this horrible? or, God, universe, whatever that is, higher power, for whom, however you see it. And I can remember sitting outside on the step and just feeling like, I don't think I'm going to make it through this. My heart was just broken, and not just cracked, but pieces everywhere broken.
Mm.
And then it got really quiet. It got really quiet. And the only person that was in that space was me and spirit. I started meditating. I started finding, videos on vulnerability, that just, the things, how spirit's like, okay, she's down now, bump her, give her some things, things that would just show up on YouTube while I'm at the gym, that kind of thing, and watching it and going, okay, there's something happening, going deeper and deeper. And then I started meditating. And that was the game changer.
Seriously, because I just want to say this one thing. When you start doing that, you first had to make some white space. Like, I think people underestimate how much clutter they have in their lives that is really inhibiting. And those things, like you said, like just go away and away and away and away. And all of a sudden you're left with, and you're afraid of the white space, but then you realize the white space is the way forward.
Exactly. Right. That's kind of the bright light leading you. But boy, it sure feels scary when that's happening, when you feel like you're losing everything that you've ever known in your life to be true. And, especially, I can't say for age wise, but, coming up kind of into a middle age place of being like, I've worked so hard for this, and this, and things are disappearing quickly. I had my life planned out. I had my retirement plan, where I was going to live. It was all planned out. And, being a Capricorn sun, that's very important.
I remember that about you, Jen. Happy birthday in advance. Oh my God.
So to have that basically dumped out and gone was like, oh no.
Holy cow.
So,
holy cow.
Yeah. So I started meditating, and then came the part where I started kind of seeing things and feeling things. The gifts were kind of opening up. And then I got scared, because I was like, have I broken down so far that I'm crazy? And then I think spirit heard those cries, and then in came a few influential people. I've stumbled across some groups on Facebook. And then I thought, oh, there's something bigger going on here. I'm not crazy. There's something bigger here. And at the time, I had a very, very dear friend. She was kind of experiencing the same thing. And she was a great person to, at least I had her to talk to, and we were bouncing things off each other. So I'm very grateful for that, because she kind of uncovered some stuff for both of us and for me. So that was pretty cool. And then, then the more it started expanding, just the bigger and bigger and bigger it got. And then the healing, or shamanism, or whatever you want to call it, started really coming through, because I was recommended to have a reading with a medium. And he came through right away, and he was like, have you, this, and this. My guides were front and center and saying things. And as soon as I was like, wow, and, kind of started exploring that. And I'll never forget this moment. I was staying above the Columbia River, and I was like, I accept all of this. Because I was kind of afraid to,
of course,
it, right. Yeah. I was like, I accept all of this. And boy, off to the races.
Wow. So how did you know? I mean, some of the questions I get a lot, how do you know? Because that's the way the questions always start. How do you know that it's shamanism, right? Like you and I have talked several times about, there's all of this, the way it's done, or all of this kind of stuff about shamanism. But I feel like, and what you've said to me is you have your own particular brand of shamanism. And I think everybody that does it kind of like eventually comes to that awareness, right?
Right. I believe there's obviously some underlying things that make it that. I was told in that reading that for me personally, that I would not train, like take a class or go to school, that all of my stuff would come in. Just kind of with me in spirit. And that was very true. Hours of silence, hours of aloneness, and a lot of wandering, a very lonely beginning, but again, to clear out everything. And I would go into a
Right.
shamanic journey, which is a meditation. You put some drum beats in your ear through headphones, or some people drum, and it does something with your brain where it kind of checks you out, and then you're able to go up into this dark place, because a shaman is one who sees in the dark, right? You start accessing these other levels, and I mean, then your mind just blows, right? And then
Right.
I would have guides come in, and for me, it was kind of like, the easiest way I can say it was kind of like watching a movie. You know, you're there,
Yeah.
but it's happening, right? And I would see these things being performed. I would see things happening, and then I would come back down and be like, "Whoa, what was that?" You know? And then spirit would do funny things, like I'd walk by a TV and I would see something very familiar on the TV that I saw up there the day before. And that was spirit nudging me, going, "See it, it's real, like these
Right.
beautiful
Right.
confirmations." And then as I got more and more comfortable, I mean, it just went on forever. Journeys, you know, just took me so many places, and they still do. I journey every morning.
Yeah. It's a great practice. And I know I have worked with you a couple of times. You've done some journeys with me or for me, which have just been really remarkable. And I always feel like, how far down the rabbit hole, like some people are just not willing to go to do that kind of journey to get to the journey that you went through. And, you know, like, how far down the rabbit hole do we go? And all of that really comes up when I hear you talking about your journeys. And it's so meaningful to just allow yourself to do it, right? Like, you can't, what does your day to day look like? How are you manifesting this as a daily existence?
Well, you know, accepting the journey was a big deal, and still choosing that every day. And a lot of the times, in my experience, we all go through peaks and valleys, right? And some of the valleys can be pretty dark. You know, we talk about dark night of the soul, which would be basically what I experienced in the beginning. But, you know, the journey is lots of those. You know, mine happened to come in a big, big way. And then we have little ones, right? Because we have to. I feel like human Jen, the thing sometimes that keeps me going, you know, because sometimes you just get exhausted and it's hard, and these kinds of things, and the challenges that I'm asked to face on my healing journey, which we all are, is that, I mean, 100% of the time when I go through something and I finally come back up, there, it won't be but a few days or a week, and someone books a session and they're there too.
Yeah.
And then I'm able to be in it with them. And to be able to help or stand next to someone on their journey and tell them they're not alone, and help them see their own clarity and wisdom, it makes it worth it every time. I mean,
100%.
every single time
100%.
is being able to help and walk with someone else.
I really felt what you said about there's all these peaks and valleys and stuff, because I feel like 2022 for me has been a big dark night of the soul. This whole year, there has been lots and lots of dark nights, and very difficult, and, you know, continuing to persevere through it because of a sense, I don't know, a sense of like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But there was a ton of like, no, you need to really stop what you're doing. And only now, and I mean, I spent a couple of weeks in France, and we were, you know, kind of all over the place. And to me, it was just like a taking, it could have been anywhere, Jen. It could have been anywhere. It doesn't matter that it's France or whatever. I think France was important though, but it just took me out of my daily life enough that I was able to kind of see like, oh, all that stuff that was really happening this year is just another, it's a graduation, right? It's like another level. And, you know, the year to me was like this, I really had so much fear of loss. Like once you build something or once you create something, there's a sense of like, especially with a Sag, Sag is like all about growth and expansion and everything like that. The idea that something would end and a new thing would begin was so scary to me. And your point about it's not really a straight line. There can be a lot of these. I think that's the thing that a lot of people go, yeah, no thanks, but which is just a pipe dream to be able to say no thanks, you know, when you're on path for this. I just don't, I mean, it's like you're going to be fighting the universe, and good luck with that, right? Like,
right. So, you know, fighting the universe and not getting connected with yourself and not choosing to heal yourself and not choosing to really drop down into your heart, because that's what we're really being asked to do, is to drop down into our heart and live from a heart place with love and compassion and, you know, what life is really about, the beauty in nature or whatever it is that brings us that grounded, centered feeling of love and not the hamster wheel of life. When we choose to live up here, to me, that is living a life of suffering. Because we're up here, we're hearing the stories that we hear out there from others. We're hearing the story that we've made up for ourselves on what life should be or what's going to happen. But when we choose to drop down into that place of presence and the now in the heart, well, that's where the magic happens. But to get to that magic, you have to go through the pain. Because
so many people, so many people, the thing I have found that's so interesting to me is how much a broken heart blocks the next level of our awakening. It is, you know, a lot of, you know me, because I do readings and there's readings about love and, you know, I get all this like, it's not about relationships. I'm like, oh, yes, it is. Like the thing about the broken heart is the way, like especially people who have been through multiple broken hearts or who have lived on this planet for any period of time. You probably have some kind of broken heart or some kind of issue there. And being able to feel compassion again, being able to feel what other people feel, super hard for an air sign that's a lot of fire and air, right? Like, so it can be a sense of like, I didn't realize how much a broken heart was part of this.
Right. You know, the broken heart cracks everything open for the light to get in. And then when the light comes in, that's when the expansion happens, right? So each level of expansion, you will have some heartbreak or something that comes along to break that open to take you to the next level. And, you know, spirit knows us best. Spirit knows what it's going to be for you and knows what it's going to be for me. What is going to be the thing, the kind of the pinch point that says it's time. And if you don't acknowledge that poke, you can get caught in those stories, like, and happens to me all the time. I have to drop
for sure.
Why does this always happen to me? I'm just fated to be miserable, or all those stories. And that's literally just, you're just kind of whipping yourself versus dropping down and going, gosh, this hurts, and allow it to hurt. Because that's really what that mind's trying to get you to do. And that suffering is to not feel that, because it knows if you feel that, you'll heal it and off to the next level. I just got all the chills when I said that.
I know you can't heal it unless you can feel it, right?
Right.
So your practice, I love the way you do what you do. And I'd love to hear you talk about it and what it, you know, how it kind of works when you're doing a session for somebody.
Okay. What I tell people is I never know what's going to happen. So the Lakota have a saying, hollow your bones. I think it was Frank Fool's Crow that said that. He was a very powerful medicine man. Hollow my bones, which basically means move me out of the way, hollow my bones and let spirit come through. Because here's the thing, it's not me. I'm just someone who's chosen and said yes, that wants to help. So before each session, I say, please use me divinely for everyone's greatest good. Please move me out of the way. and please hollow my bones.
Right.
When we go into that, anything can happen. It can look like an energy clearing session. It can look, mediumship can happen. I've had
Mhm.
who've crossed over, fully come through, you know, a relative or what, and have a full on message. We'll do some energy work. Sometimes it'll look like a meditation. Or sometimes it might just feel like we sit and talk for an hour.
Mhm.
Because I'm also an inner child healing coach. So all of these things come into play. And I honestly never know what's going to happen. And I used to ask a lot of questions up front in the
Yeah.
beginning,
Right.
but now I really don't. I go, how are you feeling? What brought you here? I might
Yeah.
ask.
Right.
And then we might talk for a little bit, but if it's someone, for example, that's really having a hard time getting out of their mind,
Yeah.
we could be 3 minutes and spirit's like, we're coming in, go into a meditation, because the
We're
longer
here.
they were to talk, the more in their head they're going to get. And spirit's like,
Oh,
let's get them in their heart.
yeah.
And then,
For real.
yeah, we just go on a journey together. Usually, anything can happen and it's
Mm.
miraculous. We can look at, a lot of inner child stuff. We
Yep.
can look at going back and kind of doing some like soul retrieval type work where you're going back and kind of rescuing a
Mhm.
piece of you.
Yes.
We can we'll look at blocks sometimes, like
Mhm.
people are really wanting to take something next level and they have just a cemented belief that they don't even know they have.
Right.
And
Oh
we'll look
gosh,
at
yes.
that, right? Yeah. And boy, then here come the tears, right? When we find that
Yeah.
belief that we've been packing around like heavy suitcases and go, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I had that. And you
Yeah.
get there and they see it and then they choose in the session, because I
Right.
don't choose for them. Be like,
Yeah.
are you ready? And, yes. And for
Right.
them to have that power and then to come out and then just see the world and their path a little bit differently because they remove that block with spirit. It's amazing.
Oh my God. Jen, you are magical. You are magical. Thank you so much for just explaining a little bit about this to everybody watching. And it's so lovely to see you again. And I hope to see you in person really soon. So
Right. We
much love to you.
We might have to catch some spring training baseball this year.
I think so. All right. Write it down. We're doing
Write it down.
We're doing it.
Thank you for having me today. It's always wonderful to catch up with you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that video. If it was helpful to you, please consider liking this video and sharing it with anybody who might have a need for similar kind of information. And if you like this video, check out these videos.